When you think of fear, it's a response in your body. So it's not something you're thinking about. You respond to fear in a really physical way. My name is Paul Ruskay. I'm the audio director on The Chant. One of the main influences was John Carpenter soundtracks from the 70s. It's a project that reminds me why I got into this in the first place.
I was introduced to Paul shortly after starting our first prototype. Paul really quickly started throwing out a lot of experimental soundscapes and so forth that were quite different. I think on that end, Paul has taken quite an unorthodox approach to doing the sound design and the music for this game. I think it's created a really interesting result. The game's quite colorful, and we were looking at a lot of late 70s, early 80s horror. Movies like Suspiria, movies like Phantasm, and movies like The Wicker Man and so forth. I think we talked early on about just having a general kind of more analog feel, because when using synths, sometimes that can create a digital landscape, and since the game is in a very natural environment, there's no real technology about, and it's on the edge of the West Coast. Having that analog feel and that experimental soundscape was really important. And also combining it with a new age spirituality we thought would be a pretty interesting take.
It was easy to get excited about the project just because the references were really compelling, and it seemed to me like it would be a really fun project to creatively explore. The thing about working with Mike is he's very instinctual in terms of his response to the experience, and he's been a great collaborator guiding me towards those classic movies from the 70s and 80s, but he did want something original.
Find her! Bring her back to me!
For the opening prologue chase scene, it needed a kind of energy and a kind of franticness that I wasn't able to land because I was using synths and samplers. So I collaborated with a great drummer, Francesca, who's based in Milan, Italy. She just played these amazing, frantic, free jazz drum parts. What she created was the exact franticness in the playing that lent itself really well to that opening prologue scene. At a certain point, we realized that certain sections actually didn't need music. An example of that would be the Spirit Forest in Chapter 5, where we want this thing to sound really scary, we want the game player to really feel on edge, and have this feeling that there's things in the woods and they're moving around. And what we found was by just taking the music out was way more effective in creating the tension that we wanted. In terms of the creature sound design, I think my favorite is the Manticore.
What is that thing?
Just because it's such a strange looking creature and how it responds when it's attacked and what it sounds like when it's attacking. Mike was really looking for something that was going to make the game player feel terrified. What's been really great about the audio approach and the feedback from Mike is being enabled to try things out that are a bit experimental, that are not a conventional solution. He's always pushed me to take risks in terms of, okay, don't do anything that sounds like everything else.
It's also kind of necessary at times, because we do have some things in our game that aren't very orthodox. Like sometimes we'll be sitting there talking like, well, what does it sound like to throw salt at an interdimensional creature? And like, we can't really draw on a lot of, other sources for that.
It was great where we ended up, because if it's scaring us and we know that it's going to be happening, then we know we've done our job right.